Good day, everyone. My name is 𝗓𝗪𝗠𝗔𝗡𝗦, and I will discuss to you one of the human issues that affect in the aspect of education in the Philippines. So, next, according to a study by the Philippine Institute for the Development Studies, or the PIDS, there is a strong correlation between education and poverty reduction. The study found that the increasing access to education can lead to a better employment opportunities and higher income levels, ultimately leading to poverty reduction. So this simply means that according to their study, that if you are a degree holder, there's a possibility outside that a specific department or a company will offer you a big opportunity to work. For example, if you are a degree holder in education, there's a possibility that a specific university or a public school or a private school will offer you to teach and will give you the higher income level. So there's a possibility that it will lead to a poverty reduction. So when we talked about poverty reduction, it will listen to every individual who have a job or who are employed in a specific job that they are in. It will lessen their it will give them a better lifestyle. So next, okay, the Philippines, a developing country in Southeast Asia with a population over 100 million people, has a long history of colonization, and we are all aware of that, with Spain being a first colonial power to arrive in the country in 1521. So the Spanish colonial period lasted over 300 years, so during which the country's education was heavily influenced by the Catholic Church, and the Spanish government established schools that primarily catered to the Spanish elite, and education was mainly focused in religious instruction. So because we are all Filipinos are colonized by that time, so we need to follow their education system by that time. And since we were colonized by the Spanish by the Spanish elite, we should also follow their order. So after the Spanish-American War in 1898, the Philippines was ceded to the United States. So United States followed. The American colonial period brought significant changes to the country's education system. So there's a huge changes that happened. So with the government introducing a public school system that aimed to provide education to all Filipinos. So the American government established public schools that followed an English language curriculum. So that's why we are all required, right, to study in English. And since we were in elementary and until now, one of the language that we are using is English, or the second language that we are using, which is the English, and which aim to prepare Filipinos for the workforce and eventually lead to their assimilation into American society. So since we were being colonized by these American people, so we need to follow at the same time their rules and regulations. So the Philippine education system underwent further changes after the country gained independence in 1946. The government implemented reforms that aimed to make the education accessible to all Filipinos, and regardless of their socio-economic status. So in the 1897 Constitution, Philippine Constitution states that the state shall protect and promote the right of all citizens to quality education at all levels and shall take appropriate steps to make such education accessible to all. So this means that in this Philippine Constitution 1897, that every Filipinos has the accessible in the quality of education. However, we cannot force that because not everyone has the capacity to send themselves in school because of lack of resources. And one of the most common problems that we face is especially in financial problem. So despite all the efforts to make education a key priority in the country since independence in 1946, the Philippine education system continues to face significant challenges that prevent many Filipinos from accessing education. So this is one of these the common effects or the challenges that we face in the Philippines. So these are the educational challenges in the Philippines. First is poverty, ongoing armed conflicts, lack of resources and infrastructure, and the COVID-19. So poverty. So when we talked about poverty, it has a long, persuasive and intractable challenge in the Philippines, and education remains one of the most critical casualties to this social malady. So the Philippine Statistic Authority has reported that approximately 16.7 million Filipinos live below the poverty line. This is one of the most common challenges in education, with many of them struggling to make ends met on a daily basis. Consequently, education becomes an affordable luxury for many families, especially those living in the most impoverished communities. So the inability to send their children to school forces them to work instead, perpetuating the cycle of poverty for generations. So I've read an article. I forgot who's the author of that. So one of the common problem that we face, especially in our country here in the Philippines, is this so-called lack of financial support, especially in a specific family. We are all aware of this, and we are all very familiar with this kind of situation. And the problem there is the government. We cannot blame everything to the government since they're also doing their job. However, they must also take any action, and not the huge, not the big one, but for me, it's very important that we citizens here in the Philippines could also done something that we should also aware if our future kids will face this kind of situation, what will gonna happen. So we should be more aware on what will gonna happen in the future. So the Philippine government has launched several initiatives aimed to addressing the problem of poverty and its impact on education. So they're also doing their job, and we cannot per se okay, let's blame everything to the government. Well, as an individual, we should also done something for that, because we are here to help each other, not to blame every individuals who are especially those in the higher authorities. So another study of Howlett et al. In 2018 looked at the impact of the 4Ps program on the education outcomes of children living in poor communities. So there is a program that was introduced, and yeah, the study found that the program has a positive effect in both school enrollment and attendance, with children from beneficiary households having higher rates of school attendance than their counterparts from non-beneficiary households. So the study also followed, or that the program, I showed that the program also had a significant impact on the children's nutritional status, and it helped families to afford healthier for food options. So it has a positive impact. I am one of those beneficial before in 4Ps. 4Ps, yeah, I was one of those beneficiaries. So, but we cannot also rely on that beneficial, because whether we like it or not, we should also done something that will help us to provide our daily needs. So despite the success of the 4Ps program, however, there are some experts argue that the cash transfers alone are not enough to address the root causes of poverty. Would you agree with this? I might agree with this, because based on my experience, based on what I've noticed and observed around, that there are kulang ra gyud siya, and it's not enough for a one family inside that will help them to sustain their daily needs. So they emphasize the need for more comprehensive poverty education reduction strategies, that such as creating more opportunities, job, and improving social services. So this also helped the family to work at the same time to provide their daily needs. So according to a study by Ipon Foundation in 2019, that the poverty reduction in the Philippines requires multi-dimensional approach that includes investment in education, healthcare, and social services, as well as policies that support job creation and income growth. This means that in the aspect of this program might help the individual to support their daily needs at the exact amount. So combined with the above, it is easy to see that poverty remains a major obstacle to education in the Philippines, with millions of families struggling to afford basic. Yes, this is one of these, this is one of the common challenge, especially in the education part, the poverty. But there's a saying, diba, poverty is not a hindrance in education, because we can do something like, you can, as a college student, we can not rely everything to our parents. You might find a part-time job, because I've done that also back then, that I've tutored a student outside just to sustain my daily needs. So there's no such thing na you cannot provide for yourself. You can provide yourself if you had enough the courage to work hard, and perseverance is one of the most important if you have a goal in the future. So next is the ongoing armed conflicts. We are all familiar with this, especially what happened in Marawi Siege. One of these common problem that we face is this armed conflicts. We cannot prevent this kind of instances, since this exists, or it existed back then. It's one of the social issues. So the ongoing armed conflict in some parts of the Philippines has created many challenges in the education sector. Yes, In particular, the situation has greatly impacted the lives of many children, not just children, but families, making it difficult for them to continue their studies. Exactly. Because for me, I don't know if anyone would agree with this kind of statement that I have, that um, sometimes people will choose to create something that is unnecessary just to, satisfy themselves. I don't know what's the reason why some of the people wanted to create conflicts. Yes, conflicts really existed, particularly in a specific country or in a specific area here in the Philippines, that they really wanted to speak out. They really wanted to voice out themselves by harming anyone, or by creating something that is not, that is not necessary. So, with the schools being forced to close and students being displaced, the government has recognized the need for alternative education systems that can provide access to education those who have been affected by the conflict. So yes, the government made a decision to make all the learners to have the access in education, especially those who have an effect in the who are involved in the conflict, or who are affected by the conflict. So one of the measures implemented by the government to address this issue is the alternative learning system, or we call it ALS. So sorry, the ALS is we all know that it is a non-formal education system designed to provide basic education and skills training to out-of-school youth and adults who have not completed their primary or secondary education. So in ALS, yes, it might be a non-formal education, but it is very it is one of the most helpful education that will give to those who are those learners who have not completed their primary and their secondary education. So this program is designed to reach marginalized communities, including those affected by the armed conflict, who may not have access to the traditional formal education. So this is one of the most common problem that existed even up until now, especially in some Mindanao parts. So the ALS program has been successful is that it has been able to adapt the unique challenges faced by learners in conflict affected areas. Although ALS is a non-formal education, but there are lots of successful ALS students who, one of they got a top-notch part nga, naging part sila sa top-notcher. I've read an article that it was part of the Cordillera. I don't know, pero student siya he was one of the, naka-eskwela og ALS nga, naka-graduate siya, and he was one of the top-notcher after he got the license in education. So one of the reasons, this is one of the reasons why that ALS has been a successful program. So I would agree that the for example, the program has developed modules that are designed to be delivered in a modular format. So making it easier for learners to access education even if they have to relocate due to conflict. So next is the lack of resources and infrastructure. So yes, the education challenges is one of this is the lack of resources and infrastructure. Another important issue is facing by the education system in the Philippines is lack of resources and infrastructure in many schools, especially in rural areas. So the challenge is widespread and affects a significant number of schools in the country. So according to the report by the Department of Education, around 5,000 schools in the Philippines have no access to electricity, with 10,000 have no access to potable water. So this lack of basic amenities puts students and teachers at a significant disadvantage, so affecting the quality of education they receive. So we are aiming for, especially in the K to 12, that they are aiming for quality education. The many schools of lack adequate classrooms, textbooks, and teaching materials, making it challenging for students to learn effectively. The challenge is not only limited in rural areas, but it also present in urban areas. So whether we like it or not, this is one of the common problem that has been challenged, especially in the aspect of education, that they lacked really on resources, especially those in the rural areas. I've known one of the teacher na it's really hard for them to give the quality education, especially some of the resources has been one of the lacking sa part nga giilang tudluan. So students are the students or the learners are capable to learn. They are very passionate about in learning new things. However, there's a lack of resources, which is the government failed to do so. But there might be a solution for that, a possible solution that might lead for a better solution. So to address this issue, the Philippine government has invested in infrastructure projects to improve schools facilities, which is it really happened, especially in those rural areas and the urban areas. I've noticed that there are lots of buildings that have been created until now because there's a K to 12 and there's a lot of infrastructures that they're building. We cannot also say na, like what I've said a while ago, that we cannot blame everything to the government unless we've done something for that aspect. So the government has constructed classrooms, provided electricity, and installed water system in schools that lacked these amenities. So the Department of Education has implemented a K-12 program, which aims to provide students with a quality education that is globally competitive. So the program includes initiatives such as the provision for free textbooks, school facilities, and teaching and teacher training. So it is helpful also for all the learners to, have a conducive and a friendly environment, especially in the classroom. So every learners will have access to textbooks and facilities, and they'll be able to learn more. So the above mentioned about the ALS, or the alternative learning system that provide a quality education, there's a possibility that each of them will lead the students to be competitive, and at the same time they'll be able to give a specific creativity, especially inside the classroom. They'll be able to participate well, and at the same time they'll be able to collaborate with their classmates or with the community, especially if they're given a task or a responsibility by the teacher. So To conclude, the lack of resources and infrastructure in schools is a significant challenge facing education in the Philippines, particularly in rural areas. We cannot prevent this kind of instances that one of the problem that happened, especially in the rural areas, na they'll not be able, especially those learners who are not, that well enough in, especially in sending themselves in a school. So there's a possibility that they lack in financial support is in their family. So this program, especially in us, this program is a vital, ensuring that every Filipino has access in basic education, which is good and which is very helpful also for all those learners who want to pursue their studies, even though they lacked in financial support. One of the most common problem here I've noticed na some areas in rural or some rural areas in the Philippines ganing mutabok pa sila og sapa, mutabok pa sila og as in river or basta something, maglisod sila og sulod og eskwela sayo. It's because their home or their place is too far away or too far from school, from their school. So naay possibility nga maglakaw sila, mulabang pa og sapa, nga ilokduhon pa ning ilahang bag, and in order para dili ilang mabasa to ilang libro, ilang mga notebook. So pag magbagyo, maglisod sila og labang, kay pag magkuan maglisod og sulod sa klase kay basa na pod. So this is one of these common problem that we face in the Philippines. Kulang lagi sa resources and infrastructure. But yeah, I think the government also done something for that, to solve that problem. So I would say that the government also implemented several initiatives to address this issue, and of course there is still need for greater investment in education, which is good, to ensure that every child has the access to quality education. Providing access to education is very vital, ensuring that every Filipino has the opportunity to reach their full potential and contribute to the development of the country. So, according, sabi nga ni Jose Rizal, ang kabataan ay ang pag-asa ng bayan. Yes, this I absolutely agree with that statement. However, it will not be, it will not fulfill without the help and the support of the government and the family. So, I would say it's very important to, as a future educator, for me, as a future educator, one of the important thing that I've learned, especially in the area of education, we cannot say na all teachers or all instructors or professors can cater all the problems of every learners. We cannot do that, or they cannot do that, because they have also focusing on something to provide the needs of their daily needs, especially specific family that they have. However, as a future educator, we are trying to do something to help our learners to pursue their studies and to learn more and to dream and to hit the goal that they need and the opportunity that they want for their lives. So poverty is not the hindrance in education. At least we help in some, not in a big way, but in a little way, as long as we help our learners to achieve their dreams and to pursue what they want in the future. So yeah, next is the COVID-19. So we're all familiar with this, right? After what happened back 2019, oh no, 2020 March, if I mean it, tell me if I'm wrong, if March 20 ba to siya, 2020, na gi-prevent ang pagsulod sa klase, especially inside the campus, especially in the Norso, that time nga gi-stop ang gigamit na ang online class. So nag-module mangguro mi ato at that time. So there's a possibility that when the COVID-19 really expanded, or really, give a huge problem, specifically here in the Philippines, the pandemic has undoubtedly brought numerous challenges to the education system of the Philippines. I agree. So there's affecting not only the students but also the teachers, parents, and educational institutions. So in March 2020, the Philippine government ordered the closure of schools to curb the spread of the virus. As a result, millions of students had to shift to online or distance learning, which was a struggle for those without access to technology or reliable internet connection, which is absolutely true. Because while we're doing an online class, I would say I've learned something, but not the whole thing, not the whole lesson that I've learned, because it's really different, especially in the actual school, that you can communicate physically with the teacher and the students and your classmates at the same time, and there's a cooperative and collaboration that will happen. So in online class, I think there's a connection. Yeah, there might be a connection that will happen because you will gonna communicate through online, but it's quite different because some also might have no access in internet or technology. So there's also a disadvantage to that. So one of the major issues that the pandemic has exposed in digital divide. Yeah. So the digital divide refers to the gap between those who have access to digital technologies and those who do not. So advantage ni siya sa mga estudyante nga na internet connection, they have their cell phones, their laptops or computers, and disadvantage po siya sa part sa mga students nga walay maglisod og connect, walay wifi, walay laptop, walay computers, and dili pa tarong ang kuan sa cellphone, dili pa tarong ang cellphone kay murag kagubaon na pod. So in the context of education, the digital divide means that the students who lack access to technology and the internet are at the advantage compared to those who have them. So dako kay siyang disadvantage sa mga naa. So according to this survey conducted by the Department of Education in July 2020, only 64% of the students who responded the access to the smartphone, while 55% have the access to a laptop or desktop computer. This means that a significant portion of the student population is left out of the digital learning experience. So, although naa siya advantage kay everyone will, knowledgeable enough to use the technology. So, I didn't even know how to use Google Classroom back then. I didn't even know how to use Edmodo, the Google Meet, the Zoom, something like that. And it happened that the online class is going, we really need to use this kind of apps, and we need to participate, right? So and there's a really advantage because I've learned also at the same time from those using those apps that will help me also to be knowledgeable in using the technology. So to To address the digital divide challenges posed by the pandemic, the Department of Education has implemented various distance learning programs. So there is a DepEd TV, a program that provides televised lesson to the students in grade 1 to 10. A DepEd TV was launched in October 2020 and is aired on the free channel. So meaning they've done something also, which they've done something right also. So there's a solution that that happened. So apart from the initiatives, the government also partnered with telecommunications companies to provide free internet access to public school teachers and students. Would you agree? Yes, I agree, but there's a problem also at the same time because hinay kayo ang signal. So, in May 2020, the Department of Education signed a memorandum of agreement with Globe Telecom and Smart Communications to provide a free internet access to public school teachers and students until the end of the year. The initiative aimed to ensure that the teachers and students have access to online resources and can participate in online class. Yes, they've done something for that. However, there's I would say not a major problem, but a minor problem also, the telecommunications, especially the Globe Telecom and the Smart Communications, because there's an issue about this two companies, right? So it was former President Rodrigo Duterte that time that he announced on his SONA by that time that he will gonna dissolve these two companies up until they will not gonna solve the issues that they have, because hinay kay signal dayon. There's a problem that happened. These two companies really have a bad feedback by the users. So to address this issue, experts suggest that the government should provide laptops and tablets to students who lack access to technology. So, which it also happened, especially in Orso, because I've noticed inside the library there's a computer there, there's a tablets that every learners or every students are allowed to use those gadgets. So the Department of Education has recognized this need and has launched a tablet program for public school teachers and non-teaching personnel. So they're also allowed to use these gadgets in order to communicate with individuals or the students and the learners, the students and the teachers. So, however, some argue that the program should be expanded to include students who have a lax access to technology. So this is one of the most common problem, because we were doing that 2020 until 2022, I think. And yes, the COVID-19 pandemic has exposed the digital divide in the Philippines, especially in the education system. So with so many students lacking to access to technology and the internet, the government also implemented the various initiatives, so such as the DepEd TV and the DepEd Commons, and also the experts suggest that there is more needs to be done, and it also particularly for the communities. So providing laptops and tablets to the students without the access to technology is a crucial step towards creating a more equitable and inclusive learning environment. So in conclusion, the challenges facing sector in the Philippines are complex and multifaceted. So raging the poverty and to armed conflict, the lack of resources and infrastructure, and digital divide, addressing these challenges will require a comprehensive and multidimensional approach, including strategies to create more job opportunities, improve social services, and support education and skills development, as well as providing alternative learning opportunities in conflict affected areas, and they're investing in education infrastructure. So bridging the digital divide is also essential, particularly in light of the COVID-19 pandemic. So by ensuring that all Filipinos has equal to access to education, the country can support international organizations and the private sector. And they must also continue to prioritize education and invest in its future. So the difference between the Philippines and the United States education system. So the Philippine education system can be described as a dynamic one. So when we talked about dynamic one, there's a change that happened rapidly. So the implementation of the K-12 program of DepEd and subsequent ratification of Kindergarten Education Act of 2012 and Enhanced Basic Education Act in 2013, the basic education today takes 13 years to complete 1 year of kindergarten, 6 years of elementary education, 4 years of junior high school, and 2 years of senior high school. Senior high school for children aged 5 to 17. So meanwhile, higher education requires even as little as 2 years, like associate degree, or as much as longer bachelor's degree or master's degree or doctorate. So to complete in universities and colleges, and much shorter in technical and vocational schools. So that's one of the characteristics. So the difference between the Philippines and United States education system. So as someone who lived here whole life in the Philippines, I would say that I am very much familiar with how education works in my home country. From kindergarten to some years of high school, I get the full experience of being a student here. But as my family moved in the United States by the year of 2018, this is based on the experience of Miss Angel Owen Turner. The life as a student in the Philippines was put to an end, and I had to start over again in a new environment. So there were a lot of adjustments to be made, but at the same time, I got to grow and widen my horizons as an individual. So on the top of that, I was able to differentiate how both countries' education works. So people tend to ask me questions about this topic, usually about the difference or which I prefer the most. Is one better than the other, or would I say that it was worth it that I moved? So since I attended the public school, a high school in both countries, my knowledge is limited to that public schools only. So I would also like to state that all information that I will be giving out is solely based on my experience and a bit of research. So every school is different, that one's rules might differ from one another. So one of the difference here is the expenses. So most schools in the Philippines require a compulsory fee for every student to pay. So if you're wondering where the money goes, let's just say that the government doesn't provide enough money for the school to pay its monthly expenses like electricity and water bills. So the fee also includes your payment for your school uniform as the requirement for students and even the faculty to wear. So the PE uniform, books, extra money for school maintenance, and your student ID. Since we are in the free tuition, since we were experiencing a free tuition nowadays, so there's a possibility that everything is free except for research student ID, and at the same time your extra money. So school buses also aren't common there, and most students rely on public transportation, which is true. Or if you're lucky enough that your school is near your house, you can just walk. You can only get you can only you can only get your driver's license when you turn 18. But either way, most are not encouraged to drive. So on the top that, you also need to bring or buy your own recess or lunch food. So based on my research, as of 2015 and 2016, the US government spent about $13,847 per public school student, which is enough to cover the basic necessities of students. So additionally, here in the US, students are not required to wear school uniforms in public schools, but we also can't just wear anything that we please, since we have a dress code. So in most schools, food is provided. Wow. So transportation also is wise. So students get to ride a school bus. Also, when they turn to 16, most students can get their driver's license and to drive to school. So in short, high school education isn't free in the Philippines. This contrasts with the United States system, where you don't need to pay for most things. So inside the classroom, teachers are much more strict in the Philippines. Would agree. So most don't prefer a friendly relationship between them and their students in order to emphasize the gap between their status, which is good, but there's a disadvantage also to that. So in this way, they also expect that the students will respect them more and take them more seriously when it comes to learning, which is good. Talking back or disagreeing with your teachers is frowned upon and is very common in many other Asian countries. So you are not allowed to talk back with your teachers because it's one of a disrespectful way. So in America, it's an opposite in some ways. Respect is given, but the students have more freedom to express their opinions in class and have a friendlier relationship with their mentors or their teachers. Communication between the teachers and the student is a huge importance in school to avoid misunderstanding and also to encourage learning from each other. So in short, schools in the Philippines have stricter management than of the United States. So in the Philippines, every grade level is divided from each other, and the students from the same grade levels are divided into sections based on who excels the most in their final average grade from the year before. So there's a star section, so we call it given much a tougher treatment and more advanced level of learning. So the lower section have it easier depending on how much they can take. So we also have a homeroom in which we have the main teacher, and that is in charge of the students in a section. So the average class size is 40 students per classroom. So students learn to, as a class, don't change classmates every period like how it is in the United States. So in the United States, things are more different. So because some schools don't have homerooms and students aren't divided from each other. So every period you learn with a new set of people. So your classmates depend on which class you take, and you can be mixed up with the students with the different grade levels. So also here, we don't have a ranking system. The grades of every student are confidential and cannot be announced by the teacher. So this is to avoid competition and humiliation inside the class, which is also good, and which should follow this kind of rules. The average class size in the United States is 20 students per classroom. So imagine the difference between the Philippines and the United States. Inside the classroom, there's in the Philippines there's a 40 per students inside the classroom. In the United States there is a 20 per students inside the classroom. So there's a huge difference. So let's discuss the outside the classroom. So in the Philippines we have a diverse culture. Yes, and almost every month we celebrate something. So, something like Nutrition Month, Buwan ng Wika, something like that. And as of usual, everything is turned into a competition, which is, yes. Like for example, every August is to celebrate Buwan ng Wika, or the Week of the Philippine Language. Grade levels compete with each other through their own prepared performance. Some sing, some dance, and some even write and recite their own poems and relate to the event. And also we have to do our preparations outside the school, and we won't be given any time during class hours. Students also assigned to organize every event, which are taken very seriously. So on the other hand, events that they consider not necessary for students to celebrate aren't given much attention, like prom. So sometimes we wouldn't have any time for those kind of events, or administration would just prefer for us to spend those time on learning. In the United States, fun is encouraged alongside learning. So the school makes sure that every event is well prepared and most students engage in it. So unlike the Philippines, here we have a homecoming, and starts with what is called the Spirit Week. Yeah. Each day of the week we have a theme in which students are free to be creative on what to wear. On Friday, we have Pep Rally, where our athletes are introduced and everyone can participate in various entertaining activities. And at night, when a football game is held and our homecoming court is introduced, and for the most awaited part, the homecoming dance, the students dress up in a semi-formal attire and come with their dates or friends. Alumni also encouraged to come, hence the name of the event. So there's a question that if you're still asking which is the better one, according to her, for me, I would say that it's just a matter of preference for every person. So there are things that I much prefer in one than the other, and vice versa. I miss the competitiveness that I experienced in the Philippines, though I love that I'm having fun and developing my social skills here in the United States, according to her. Either way, I still learn that's what matters most. But now it's up to you to decide which one fits your preference. So, in the education in the Philippines and the United States is quite different, because we are all familiar with a strict mode in the aspect of the education system here in the Philippines. So we all heard a lot of issues like previous months ago, like there's a confidential fund that is raising, and everyone get paranoid about what happened, because everyone is asking where's the confidential fund, and how does it give the benefits of every learners. And we could also question that what will gonna happen if that confidential fund will release, and it's a huge money. So I think that the important for this challenges that we face in the educational system in the Philippines must give an attention and a solution for every individual. We are, I would say that there's no such thing as perfect government, but we can also done something that is a solution perhaps for the education system that is that we have right now. So I would say there is no a good outcome if we will focus on the negative side. We should also see the positive or the light side of this challenge, because I would say dili raman ang Philippines ang naka problema when it comes about the educational system. A lot of countries, not just in the Philippines, but some countries also experience difficulties in education. However, as long as we pursue to learn and to study, so there's a possibility that we can also help other also to to pursue their studies in fulfilling their educational attainment. And this could also benefit for them in the future, that they will get the exact job or the the dream job that they want. So I would also share to you, wala lang na ko siya napildi sa PowerPoint, but I will just also share to you the education system in Canada and in the Philippines. But there's also a big difference, and we could also I will also give to you the sources of that after this slide. I'll be giving to you you can also read the article about the comparative study in educational system in Canada and the Philippines. We are all aware that in Canada, their educational system is very, they're facilitating, the education in Canada is very high and priority of the government. And also the country boasts a state-run system of public education, and one that is provided, funded, and administered by federal and provincial and local governments. So I have my auntie there and uncle there, that their kids or their children are also the government also facilitate their education, and which also very there's a positive feedback on that also. So the educational system in Canada is quite really advanced, and at the same time the government focus on that area. So I'll give in to you the source of that here in the resource page. You can also research the following sources that I've been given here. You can also search for that, and you can read all the articles and all the readings there with full of information. So I hope you learned something, and thank you for listening, and I hope you've learned something from this discussion. So thank you so much, and God bless.
Hi, my name is 𝗓𝗦𝗦𝗨𝗘𝗦, and I'll be discussing educational systems and demographic shifts. In a nation where urbanization is happening quickly, moving from rural to urban areas has a big influence on education. So number one is need for school is higher. As people move into cities, there is a higher need for schools. Strategic buildings or expansion is part of planning to guarantee equitable access without becoming congested. So number two is diverse curriculum needs. As a result of urbanization, people come from a variety of cultural and socioeconomic backgrounds. So to accommodate this diversity, schools need flexible curricula and teacher preparation programs. They also need enough funding to accommodate a range of students' demand. Number three is tech integration. The development of cities frequently coincides with advances in technology to prepare children for future driven by technology. Schools may need to purchase additional equipment such as laptops or digital learning tools. Lastly, number four, changes in population lead to modification in educational policies. To meet new demands in education, such as expanding access in neglected urban areas as providing scholarship, no, neglected urban areas or providing scholarship to a range of socioeconomic backgrounds, governments may need to reallocate finances. So, to summarize my report, infrastructure, curriculum, resources, and policies are all impacted by urbanization, which has an effect on education. It is essential to adjust to these shifts in order to guarantee equitable access to education and sufficiently equip students for changing societal expectations. So that's all my report. Thank you so much for listening.
So, good day everyone. So today we are going to tackle about migration patterns and their societal effects. Migration, a form of geographic or spatial mobility of people involving a change of usual residence during a specified period. It is often seen by Filipinos as a way to improve their economic situations. Filipino international migrants, often referred to as modern-day heroes of the country, became the backbone of the Philippines' economic recovery during the pandemic. In 2021, the most recent year for which data are available from the U.S. Census Bureau's American Community Survey or ACS, close to 2 million Filipinos immigrants resided in the United States, representing more than 4% of all 45.3 million U.S. immigrants. People around the globe immigrate for a wide variety of reasons that we conceptualize as push and pull factors. Push factors are the reasons that compelled or push people to leave the area of where they reside and settle someplace else. Common factors can include armed conflict, disaster exposure, gender inequality, lack of job opportunities, political corruptions, and lack of access to competent healthcare and education. In simple terms, push factors are the negative reasons that prompt individuals to live. While pull factors, on the other hand, the exact opposite of push factor. They attract or pull people to move and settle in a particular area. Common pull factors may include better work opportunities, greater security and access to adequate healthcare and education. Simply put, pull factors are positive reasons that prompt individuals to move. Positive impact, unemployment is reduced and people get better job opportunities. Migration helps in improving the quality of life of people. Negative impact, the loss of persons from rural areas, impact on the level of output and development of rural areas. The influx of workers in urban areas increase competition for the job, houses, school facilities, and etc. While the effects of immigration on the receiving country have received a great deal of attention, less has been paid to its effects on the sending country. The available data suggests that on net, immigration has a positive of the sending country. For example, by decreasing the labor pool in the sending country, immigration helps to alleviate unemployment and increase the incomes of the remaining workers. Also, Immigrants often send money home, enhancing their families' standards of living, and thereby contributing both to the home economy and the nation's trade balance. Most immigrants are young, male, female, and married. However, so there can be a destabilizing effect on the family. Some countries have attempted to restrict immigration in the belief that it does not enhance economic development. However, the evidence suggests that because of the benefits noted above, this might be result in an even greater economic decline than such countries fear. The social effects of migrations are the following. Cultures and diversity. Culture is the shared beliefs, values, and traditions of a demographic. This also extends to food, music, religion, art, dress, and language. There are many different cultures across the world, and through migration, most prominently international migration, this culture can be shared and brought to new places. Migration can also increase the cultural diversity of a host country, as an introduction of a new culture can bring a whole new market of products and services that were not available in the host country prior to the arrival of migrants. Migration is in this scene can have very positive impact on the host of the nation. However, there can be a negative impact for the migrants themselves. For example, there can be a significant loss of cultural norms as they may be entering host country that has completely different the way of societal living than their origin country. Excuse me. Assimilation. Assimilation is the integration of migrants into their host country. This occurs naturally at different rates. And over a long period of time, assimilation rates are affected by many different factors, such as the level of similarity between migrants and local people, or perhaps the existence of tensions between migrants and the local groups. And the social consequence of migration is cultural clash. Migrants may have entirely different cultural values or characteristics to those host nations. When there are differences between the host and the origin country, tension may be built up between them. This is often called cultural clash or cultural conflict. Discrimination. International migration may create space for discrimination. Migrants may have a different ethnicity, religious practices, or cultural characteristic from their host nations. Or there may be language barriers, which can sometimes cause migrants to be discriminated against in every aspect of their everyday life, either directly or indirectly. So that will be all, and thank you.
A good day, ma'am. I am Princess Felicie Noho, your student in GE3 Section 80, and today I will be discussing fertility rate, global shifts, and its consequences. So the Philippines is now experiencing a new low in its fertility rate, the lowest it has ever been recorded in decades. So the question is, how does this affect our economy and what are the reasons? So before I proceed, I would like to discuss what is fertility rate. This refers to the average number of children a woman would have throughout her entire lifetime, assuming that she experienced the exact current age-specific fertility rates if she were to live from birth until her childbearing years. So the Philippines is now witnessing a sharp decline in the total fertility rate, or TFR, this year. And according to Philippine Statistics Authority, or PSA, the birth rate among Filipino mothers decreased to 1.9 children born in 2022, a drastic plummet from 2.7 children in 2017. The decline from 2017 to 2022 was the sharpest ever recorded. On the other hand, the fertility rate among women living in rural areas was slightly higher at 2.2 children per woman in comparison to those residing in urban areas with 1.7 children per woman, revealing that the Philippines is now entering a demographic transition wherein a country has a low level of fertility. The Philippines remarkably now ranks third in Southeast Asia for the lowest fertility rate behind Singapore and Thailand. There are reasons why the Philippines is experiencing a low fertility rate. That is because we are likely to be influenced by each country's social norms, religious beliefs, economic prosperity, and even urbanization. So developed nations typically have lower fertility rates because of the lifestyle choices kindred with economic prosperity. What is more is that family planning is socially acceptable, and birth control is widely available in countries where mortality rates are low. So women can now decide when and if they will have a baby, and women can now avoid unwanted births. So number 2 is that women may choose a career over children or reduce the number of children that she has, and the upsurge of women's empowerment. So the women of today are becoming increasingly aware of their rights and privileges, demonstrated by higher use of contraceptives, improved healthcare, and increased participation in the workforce. And so increasing societal prosperity. Children are expensive. So many choose to have small families, especially when they are faced with the reality that they are unable to provide a better life for their children with increasing income inequality. So there's also impending climate change, expensive vacant land, real estate, and a lot lacking healthcare, and the list goes on. So lack of reliance on children for old age security. With healthcare, older adults no longer rely on their children to take care of them because of their old age. Aside from that, marriage rates are decreasing. Divorced and choosing never to get married also affect the decision to have children in developed countries. Women are also choosing to get married at a later age, which may limit the number of children that they have. So additionally, the PSA survey reported that half of the currently married women said that they no longer wanted more children, with 17% wanting to put off having children for 2 or more years. Filipinos are choosing not to raise children because they can barely meet their own needs and expenses, particularly more so for the middle class. And increased education has been shown to be effective and has a resounding impact in decreasing fertility rates. So there are effects coming along with having low fertility rate in our country. So this may ring alarm bells, but this might not be so bad for the Philippines and its long-winded battle against overpopulation that currently stands around 111 million, the second highest in Southeast Asia after Indonesia. So the recent decrease in fertility rate has put the Philippines below the replacement fertility level of 2.1 children, at which women give birth enough to sustain the population level. Additionally, there are more pros than cons to this recent shift. So a moderately low birth rate can raise living standards. A massive breakthrough for the country's population, economic development, and family planning. This demographic transition that we are experiencing grants more opportunity for the Philippines to hasten its socio-economic improvement, providing leeway for more quality projects. So there are also greater opportunity for personal development of couples and individuals, which can rebound to more savings and incomes and investments. So families wouldn't have to sacrifice their current standard of living to start a family and raise their children because they could keep more of their income despite living in an aging population. Higher incomes, improved higher education, improved access to healthcare and reproductive services. Moreover, many women are now able to engage in such a more wider variety of economic and social activities thanks to a declining birth rate. Additionally, it shows that young children are attending school rather than going to work. So much more is that an increasingly urbanized world, couples are having fewer children to pursue their education, employment, and careers, and living a longer life than ever before. For that reason, it is time to acknowledge that we all benefit from slower population growth. But despite all of that, there are risks. One of those is that there will be less workers. Working age population eventually fall as well. This leads to labor shortages in countries where the working age populations are in decline and the older demographic makes up most of the population. And according to numerous studies, this would further encourage economic development. So, second is that there will be less consumers. Lower birth rates and falling working age populations also mean that there are fewer consumers, since most of the products and services are targeting the younger generation. Next is that there will be older populations. Falling birth rates coupled with rising life expectancies also mean that the average age of the country's population continues to rise. The low fertility rate in the Philippines is witnessing are reduced in the population size only among the young, rather than across all age groups. Should the population be demographically sustainable, low fertility will eventually lead to an age structure that will further propel the population decline. The longer a low fertility rate persists, the more challenging it is to reverse population decline and its adverse effects. And then there will be wealthy markets in decline. Most of the world's lowest birth rates today are found in what are generally wealthier countries. At lower birth rates rise income inequality within some countries. The birth rate of the upper classes begins to decline first, and they are the first to benefit from the changing demographics. Aside from that, there will be a push of automation. So as labor shortages worsen and the pool of labor shrinks, the need for automation will rise accordingly. And when we say automation, it is the use of various equipments and control systems such as machinery, processes in factories, boilers, and so on with the reduced human intervention. So this may lead to lower competitiveness and fewer job opportunities in the near future. And so, economists must pay attention to these demographic trends when there are significant shifts that could increase or decrease the economy's capacity to grow, which could be the case right now. This development doesn't immediately affect anyone, since it is one of those long-term societal developments that happen to little degrees. But this matters greatly and it must be brought to light. So if the fertility rate persists to plummet, it could mean lower living standards for the Filipinos in the future. In order to achieve the necessary birth rates to achieve economic sustainability, along with having the younger population contribute to national and global development, governments must provide adequate publicly funded reproductive health and social care for their people. So that would be all for my report about fertility rate, global shifts, and its consequences. Thank you, Ma'am. That's all.
Good day, each and everyone, especially to Ma'am Lado. So today, I will be reporting about urbanization and its impact on demographic. But first, I'll move on to my topic. Let's talk about what is demography. So, demography is the study of populations, including their size, structure, distribution, and trends. It examines factors like birth rates, death rates, migration patterns, age distributions, and how this impact social, economic, and environmental aspects of society. So when we say urbanization, it refers to the process by which an increasing proportion of a population lives in cities and urban areas, leading to the growth and development of those areas. It involves the movement of people from rural to urban areas, often accompanied by changes in lifestyle, infrastructure, and economic activities. So let's go back to the main topic. Urbanization in the Philippines has influenced demographics significantly. It has led to increased migration from rural areas to urban, resulting in higher population densities in cities. This shift has affected the age distribution, workforce dynamics, and lifestyle choices, contributing changes in family size, education levels, and employment patterns among Filipinos. Additionally, urban areas tend to attract younger populations seeking job opportunities, resulting in altered population dynamics within cities compared to rural areas. So, let's take a real-life scenario for an example. In my place in Oslo, most of the young graduates that I knew went to Cebu City, which is urban in nature, for they think that there are a variety of opportunities waiting for them there. And what will be the future impact if it will go on for a year or more? So that will lead to an increase in population in the city, and which will cause the spread of urbanization to the neighboring rural areas to sustain the change of numbers in the population. And what will be the future impact of that if it will go on for a year or more? So that will lead to an increase in population in the city, and which will cause the spread of urbanization in the neighboring rural areas to sustain the change of numbers in the population. So, urbanization often results in deforestation, habitat loss, and the extraction of fresh water from the environment, which can decrease the biodiversity and alter species ranges and interactions. So that will be all for my reporting. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.
Good day, one and all. I am Roshana Ilamarie, and I'm here to tackle about healthcare challenges amidst the demographic changes. So, over the past century, the world has experienced significant changes, including mortality rates and population growth. This century will see a new demographic challenge with falling fertility rates and global population growth and aging populations. The 21st century will be the century of aging, necessitating a holistic approach to research and partnerships between industry, governments, philanthropy, and international organizations. So now, what is demographic change? Demographic change describes the changes in population size and structure caused by changes in birth rates, death rates, and by migration. Demographic change in the Western developed countries of today is marked by low birth rates, below population replacement, and by rising life expectancy. So, Do you ever wonder how demographic challenges or demographic changes affect one's health? So, here's an example. The coronavirus pandemic has highlighted the importance of urbanization in accelerating disease transmission. Population density has increased due to the quadrupling of the global population since the 1920s, with over half of the world's population living in urban areas. Between 1920 and 2020, the percentage of the world population living in urban areas increased from 20 to 56%. 56% rather. So with Asia and Africa experiencing the largest growth, the number of large cities has also soared, with 548 cities having 1 million or more people in 2018, a nearly 50% increase from 371 cities in 2000. The growth in location of megacities is significant when considering public health crises like coronavirus pandemic. Rapid urbanization in developing countries can result in unsafe crowding and concentrated poverty, leading to the spread of many diseases. Air population in large cities weakens lung function, making residents more vulnerable to COVID-19. So as the population growth and urbanization continue, they also generate another way for a virus to spread more easily. So as human settlements expand, animal habitats often shrink or destroyed. So increasing the risk of humans coming into contact with animal-borne disease vectors, as scientists believe in the case for the coronavirus. So in the growing number of elderly people globally is causing more health problems, putting a strain on healthcare resources. This could harm national healthcare systems in many ways and also people's well-being. Why? It is because regenerative medicine, a new technology, might help by offering better treatments for expensive and debilitating conditions, especially in heart and brain health. And new international rules focused on regenerative medicine could encourage innovation, and leading to better healthcare, improved quality of life for patients, and lower overall healthcare costs. So chronic diseases. A demographics shift, there is a rise in chronic illnesses. This necessitates a shift in healthcare focus from acute care to managing long-term conditions, requiring sustainable and cost-effective strategies. Secondly, health inequalities, right? Like the demographic changes can accentuate health disparities. Certain age groups or demographic segments may face barriers to access, leading to uneven healthcare outcomes. The third one is preventive healthcare, which is shifting the focus from curative to preventive healthcare becomes imperative to manage the increased burden of healthcare diseases and promote overall well-being. And the fourth one is the mental health concern. The demographic changes often contribute to an increase in mental health issues. Addressing mental health challenges requires a more comprehensive approach to include accessible services and reduced stigma. So that is 𝗓𝗦𝗦𝗨𝗠𝗔𝗡. And yeah, that is my topic about healthcare challenges amidst the demographic changes in the world. That's all. Thank you.
Good day, Ma'am Lado. I am 𝗓𝗦𝗦𝗨𝗘𝗦, and I will be discussing the effect of demographic trends to the workforce dynamics. So first, what is demographic trend? A demographic trend can be defined as a long-range demographic change observed historically in populations around the world. So, Demographic trends refers to the statistical data that reveals the changing structure of a population over time. And these trends encompasses factors such as birth rates, death rates, age distribution, migration patterns, and other key characteristics that shape the composition of a population. So basically, demographic trends is the change of population over time. It encompasses the number of birth rates, death rates, age distribution, and migration pattern. So now I will be discussing some demographic trends and how they can affect the workforce dynamics. So first is population size. According to International Labor Organization, the working age population is a central concept in labor statistics. Changes in the size of the working age population can impact significantly the labor market and the economy. A growing working age population provides opportunities for economic growth while at the same time creating challenges for job creation and integration of new labor market entrants. By contrast, a shrinking working age population can create challenges for economic growth, competitiveness, population dependency, etc. The working age population, as was defined by the International Labor Organization, is crucial for understanding economic dynamics. A growing working age population can boost the economy but creates challenges like job creation. And on the other hand, a shrinking working age population poses difficulties such as economic slowdown and increased dependency. Essentially, the size and changes in the working age group significantly influence a country's economic landscape and competitiveness. So the next demographic trend is aging. They lead to the growth of the aging population, which in turn poses a broad range of economic challenges, including labor supply reduction and higher social cost. The aging population will continue to grow, leading to a labor force reduction. This will lead to changes in the retirement age and increased burden on government finances and lower levels of pension provision. This is from 𝗂𝗥 et al. 2020. So basically, this means that when more people are getting older due to the changes in the working age group, it creates economic problems. There's less workforce available, so countries might ask people to work longer. This leads to higher costs for healthcare and pensions for the elderly, putting a financial strain on governments. And also, retirees might get less money from pensions, affecting their financial stability. So overall, it shows how population changes impact to the economy and government support system. The next demographic trend is urbanization. So according to 𝗓𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 such as the decline of traditional industries, the rise of informal economies, and the increase in costs associated with infrastructure and services. It can also cause problems such as underemployment, unemployment, and inflation. This means that when more people move to cities, it can cause some economic issues. Traditional jobs in rural areas may decrease, and there might be more informal or irregular work, leading to job insecurity. Cities also face problems like higher costs for things like housing and transportation because more people need these services. This can result in not having enough good public services, traffic issues, and a lack of affordable housing. Although in the cities there might be more job opportunities, but sometimes there are too many people for the available job, leading to unemployment. People might also end up working in jobs that don't make good use of their skills, which is called underemployment. Another problem is inflation, where the prices of things go up because there's more demand for them in cities. So, while moving to cities can offer chances for better jobs, it also brings challenges like higher living costs, job problems, and issues with services. To sum up all, urbanization, while providing opportunities, also introduces economic challenges such as the decline of traditional industries, growth of informal economies, increased infrastructure costs, and issues related to unemployment, underemployment, and inflation. The last demographic trend is international migration. International migration is both a challenge and an opportunity for destination countries. On the one hand, especially in the short run, immigrants can create challenges in local labor markets, potentially affecting wages and displacing some native workers who compete with them. Their arrival may also impose a short-term fiscal cost. On the other hand, especially in the medium and long run, immigrants can boost output, create new opportunities for local firms and native workers, supply abilities and skills needed for growth, generate new ideas, stimulates international trade, and contribute to long-term fiscal balance by making the age distribution of advanced countries more balanced. That is according to 𝗂𝗏𝗏 et al. 2021. So basically, this means that when people move to a new country, it can be both good and not so good for that country. At first, it might be tough because more people looking for jobs can affect wages and might displace some local workers. And also, the country might need to spend money on services for the newcomers. But in the long run, these newcomers can actually help the country. They bring new ideas and skills which can make businesses grow and create more opportunities for everyone. They also add variety to the culture, making the society more interesting. So, immigrants can help the country's economy, encourage innovation, and even support the aging population. So while there are challenges at first, having people move in from other countries can be really good for everyone in the end. To sum up everything, while there are short-term challenges, international migration can be a substantial driver of economic growth, innovation, and cultural diversity for destination countries. The long-term benefits often contribute positively to the overall development and sustainability of these nations. So as a recap to what I have discussed a while ago, demographic trends significantly shape a country's economy, with factors like working age, population, aging, urbanization, and international migration playing crucial roles. A growing working age population can boost the economy but may challenge job creation. Aging populations pose hurdles, reducing labor supply and increase social cost, while urbanization offers job opportunities but brings challenges like declining traditional industries and rising costs. International migration, despite short-term challenges, contributes to long-term economic growth, innovation, and cultural diversity, supporting overall development and sustainability for destination countries. Even though there are negative effects brought by the demographic trends, they have also helped shape our economy. The challenges they brought help us in preparing and strengthening the overall structure of our economy. So that's all for my discussion about the effect of demographic trends to the workforce dynamics. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. I am 𝗓𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗧. Certainly, let's delve deeper into the demographic trends associated with technological advancement and the management of demographic change. Number 1. Aging population. Technological advancement, particularly in healthcare, have contributed to increased life expectancy and a growing aging population. This trend is observed in many countries, where declining fertility rates and improved healthcare have led to a higher proportion of older adults. Managing this demographic change requires addressing healthcare needs, social support systems, and economic implications associated with an aging population. Number 2. Digital divide. Technological advancements have led to the digital divide, which refers to the gap between those who have access to and can effectively use technology and those who do not. This divide often correlates with demographic factors such as age, income, education, and geographic location. Managing demographic change in the context of technological advancement involves bridging the digital divide through initiatives that promote digital literacy, affordable access to technology, and equitable distribution of resources. Number three, workforce transformation. Technological advancements, such as automation and artificial intelligence, have the potential to disrupt labor markets and reshape the workforce. These can lead to job displacement and changes in skill requirements. Managing demographic change in this context involves upskilling and reskilling workers to adapt to new technologies, ensuring inclusive access to employment opportunities, and addressing potential inequalities arising from workforce transformations. Number four, urbanization and migration. Technological advancements have facilitated urbanization and migration patterns. Cities are becoming hubs for technological innovation and economic growth, attracting people from rural areas and other countries. Managing demographic change in urban areas requires infrastructure development, affordable housing, transportation systems, and social services to accommodate growing populations. Additionally, managing migration patterns involves addressing social integration, cultural diversity, and the economic impact of migration. Number five, environmental impact. Technological advancements have both positive and negative environmental impacts. For instance, advancement in renewable energy and sustainable practices can help mitigate climate change, while increased consumption and electronic waste pose challenges. Managing demographic change in the context of technological advancements requires sustainable development strategies, environmental efforts, and responsible consumption patterns. Overall, demographic trends associated with technological advancement include an aging population, the digital divide, workforce transformation, urbanization, migration, and environmental impact. Managing demographic change in the context involves addressing healthcare needs, bridging the digital divide, upskilling the workforce, urban planning, social integration, and sustainable development practices. That will be all. Thank you.
Economic implications of changing demographics. Demographics, referring to population statistics, significantly influence economic growth rate. While they don't solely dictate economic fate, they hold a pivotal role in shaping a nation's growth prospects. The combination of an increasingly elderly population and a reduced birth rate in developed regions suggests a possible downturn in future economic expansion. Here are economic implications of demographic shift. Growing working age population, traditionally linked to economic prosperity. Historically, a larger working age population has been associated with economic growth. This demographic typically contributes to increased productivity, consumption, and innovation within an economy. As more people enter the workforce, there tends to be a higher economic output. The Philippines also showcases the impact of a growing working age population and economic growth. With a median age of around 25, the country has a significant young workforce. This demographic advantage has bolstered industries like business process outsourcing or BPO, manufacturing, and services. The BPO sector in particular has thrived due to the English proficiency and tech-savvy skills of the Filipino workforce. This industry employs a large number of young professionals and has become a vital contributor to the country's economy, attracting foreign investments and generating substantial revenue. Moreover, the Philippines' youthful population has spurred domestic consumption, driving demand for various goods and services. This demographic dividend, when coupled with strategic economic policies and investments in education and skills training, positions the country to harness the potential of its growing working age population for sustained economic development. Another implication is the global decline in working age populations. Contrast with the growth of non-working age population. Many developed nations are experiencing declining birth rates and an aging population. This trend leads to a smaller workforce relative to the overall population. This imbalance poses challenges for sustaining economic growth, as there are fewer people actively contributing to the workforce and potentially more depending on social services and pensions. Unlike countries facing more elderly citizens than young workers, the Philippines has a higher number of young people. This youth dividend is a big advantage for economic growth because these young individuals can contribute to the workforce and bring fresh ideas. However, just having a lot of young people isn't enough. It's crucial to ensure they receive quality education that prepares them for good jobs. Creating enough job opportunities for this young workforce is essential too. Additionally, providing access to proper health care and other social services helps support their contributions to the economy in the long run. Managing these aspects can help the Philippines make the most of its demographic advantage for sustainable economic progress. Technological advances. Key factor enabling economic growth despite this declining workforce population. Despite the decline in working age populations, technological advancements have played a crucial role in driving economic growth. Automation, artificial intelligence, and other innovations have enhanced productivity, improved efficiency, and opened new avenues for economic activities, compensating for the reduced labor force. In the Philippines, technology has been a big boost for the economy, especially with industries like business outsourcing growing due to the automation and digital tools. The government and private sector are pushing for more technology-based businesses supporting startups and innovation. This shift isn't just about working smarter, but also creating new opportunities in areas like online businesses and digital payments. These advancements are crucial as they help the country's young, tech-savvy workers stay competitive and keep the economy growing despite challenges seen in other places. Productivity increase, vital for reversing a drop in economic growth achievable through technological innovation. To counteract the effects of declining workforce populations on economic growth, societies need to focus on increasing productivity. This can be achieved through continuous technological innovation, which enables workers to accomplish more in less time and with fewer resources. This can be achieved through continuous technological innovation, which enables workers to accomplish more in less time and with fewer resources. In the Philippines, leveraging technological innovation is pivotal to counteracting potential challenges from a declining workforce. Emphasizing Technology across sectors like agricultural and manufacturing boost productivity. Efforts in digital skills education aim to empower the young workforce, harnessing their potential to drive innovation and economic growth despite demographic shift. Job evolution. Technology's role in replacing some jobs while creating new opportunities for employment. Technology can both replace some jobs and create new ones. In the Philippines, it's quite similar. While some tasks might be done by machines, there's a growing need for people with tech skills like programming or digital know-how. The country is working on training programs to help folks learn the skills for the changing job market. So when tech changes jobs, it also gives chances for people to learn new things and find different types of work. The interplay between demographics and economic growth is undeniable. While an aging population and declining birth rates in developed countries signal potential challenges for future economic expansion, several factors mitigate this impact. The growth of working age population historically correlates with economic prosperity, yet technological advances and increased productivity offer pathways to sustain growth even with a declining workforce. Embracing innovation, adapting to new evolving job landscapes, and leveraging technology became crucial elements in ensuring continued economic growth despite shifting demographic trends.